How has the Penguin been so far? Did we enjoy the return of Goku and the gang in Dragon Ball Daima? Are we excited for the upcoming Star Wars releases? Was Echoes of Wisdom a worthy entry into the Zelda series? Guys, we're going to be asking these questions and a lot more on today's episode of Systematic Geekology. We are the Priests of the Geeks. I'm your host, Christian Ashley, joined by two scholarly young men. John Erdely. How's it going, John?
It is going well, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for showing respect to your elder. Which, by the way, if you're on YouTube, yes, tomorrow is my birthday. So I will be officially 34 and officially that much closer to the grave. Matthew Winter is also with us today. How's it going, Matthew?
Good. Yeah. Good day so far.
Glad to hear it. All right, guys, this is our What's New episode. It's time for our lightning round. Who would like to go first? Or I can. Since I already got my image up, I'll go first. Ultraman Arc is near about the halfway point of the series right now. If we go on our typical Ultraman schedule of about 24 to 25-ish episodes. And I gotta be honest, I wasn't feeling it until this most recent episode where we finally understood why Arc came to Earth. And I am loving the reveal. Guys, anything else for our lightning round?
No, we're pretty much gonna cover it.
Okay. John, nothing for you? Nothing small?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Well, then, as usual, I will hog the conversation. And Agatha, all along, I've also been watching that. My, what's what I'm looking here? My feelings on the show have improved drastically. The first couple of episodes, I wasn't feeling it. This last couple, the reveal, we finally figured out who the boy was. I mean, it was kind of obvious, but that was enjoyable. Seeing them on the Witch's Road was been a lot of fun. The dynamics between the characters is fun. She's still not Agatha to me. It's a completely different character, so I just kind of have to divorce myself from that. But yeah, say much better than how it started. Then next up, Tower of God season 2 has been out. I'm still behind on the webcomic and manhwa, but the anime, yeah, it's not the best animated in the world, but it's still a lot of good fun. So that is it for our lightning round. How about we get into the conversations proper by starting off with the Penguin? And I think I'm the only one who's watching this currently. Is that correct?
I've seen the memes. Does that count?
That's it? Just the memes? You're engaging with the culture, yes. Matthew, how about you?
I have not seen it.
Okay, that's fair. So essentially, this is a spinoff of the Batman film that Robert Pattinson being our Batman in this universe. Colin Farrell is the Penguin. We saw him in the movie. Now this is kind of showing how he got to the position that he was, how he's maneuvered between the Falcone and Maroni families of Gotham, and how he is complete and utter scum. And I am enjoying it because they're not trying to pretend that he's really a good person at heart. No, no, he's evil. He's the Penguin, and he's gonna step over anyone who gets in his way. So, in light of all this, what's our history with Batman and his rogues gallery?
Yeah.
Not
I
everyone
mean,
at once.
uh, I I haven't seen all things Batman, but I am watching through right now the '90s animated Batman, the best Batman.
Ah, yes, of course.
So. And just absolutely loving that. Every time I watch it, it takes me back to where I was when I saw it the first time.
Oh
As a
yeah.
kid in our old house, sitting by sitting by grandma's fireplace. We had a slate with a brick wall. Like I remember it so vividly. And like it is one of the few shows that can do that for me. So love Batman. Love what you're saying that they're just letting Penguin just be the disgusting bad guy that he is. Because there is so much, you know, oh, well, he's a bad guy for the right reasons, or he's not really that bad, and all that stuff right now. And just to have a bad guy that is a bad guy is a good change.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. John, how about you? What's your history with Batman and his rogues gallery?
You mean like the history of like the media that we've seen, like from the animated shows
In
to
in general.
the Justice League, like the animated Justice League, and then there was
Mhm.
Batman Beyond.
Oh
Yeah.
I
yeah, Batman
remember
Beyond.
that was a lot of fun. I remember Batman Forever, Batman Returns. I remember the Penguin. Was it Danny DeVito, if I remember
Yep.
correctly?
Uh-huh.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze and Jim Carrey as the Riddler and some other things. Like that's kind of my history with it, with
Remember
the
that
Batman
hell is
character, and
cold.
can't forget the Dark Knight trilogy.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, similar stories. I watched the movies. I mean, really the animated series was my introduction to Batman.
Yeah.
That theme song when it turns on, like everything, hey, shut up. We're gonna be listening to that real quick. And to see the exploration of him as a character in his rogues gallery, that was my introduction to him as well. Mark Hamill's Joker is still my Joker to this day.
Yes.
The thing that was used there, I really enjoyed his journey in the animated series from, he's a crook, but also he goes to a legitimate business by the end of the story where he still has some underhanded dealings in the Iceberg Lounge, but he's moving a little closer, not to being good, but to being legitimate. And yeah, since then I got into the comics. I've not read everything. Obviously, we're talking about a character who's been around since the 1930s, so my comics are very limited. But Penguin stories, I've enjoyed them in the comics. Trying to think what else he's been in, but they gender flipped him for the Cape Crusader. That was an interesting choice. I mean, other than that, yeah. But yeah, it's your hero is mostly, in some respects, defined by the villains that he fights, and I think Batman's villains really serve him well in the
Mm.
madness angle and all that, and thinking that they can control things while he's trying to control the city of Gotham to make it good versus how it's been. Yeah, Batman's always been fun for me. But what we haven't have, unless I'm forgetting something, which I wouldn't be surprised, other than the Joker movies, which the less said about the sequel, the better, um, are villain protagonists. Like, in your opinion, are villain protagonists fun to watch?
Oh, you mean where the villain is the main character of the story?
Yes.
I think it can be if it's done. If it's done well, it's got good writing and all the stars align. It can be a very good story, very similar to how the first Joker film or like this. I guess this show seems to put a good spotlight on the Penguin's character, and they even had in Gotham, the TV show, they had a few arcs where they followed the villains around a little bit, like Penguin,
Oh
and I kind
yeah.
of that version of the Penguin. It was very different because it wasn't more like a Italian mob. It was more like I don't know, some goofy bad guy, but it's interesting.
Matthew.
Um, I'm just trying to think. It hasn't really, at least from what I've seen, been done that often. I know the Joker movie, the first one,
Hmm. The
was
only one.
yeah, is is a good go at that, and you know, I don't know. I think like a Luther movie could be a really good idea.
Ooh.
And I think that maybe um yeah, no, I mean Luther would be a fantastic movie if they did it right. Um it's an idea that needs explored. But I think they need to do it in a way that preserves the villain as villains. Um, you know, like I said earlier, we don't need to get into this humanizing of bad guys.
The opposite of Boba Fett.
Yes. Oh gosh, that was awful. Yeah, but actually I can't remember the line he says, but he kind of picks up this guy who's named Vic, who's about to, like, steal his tires from his car, and he, like, kinda beats him up and says, "Alright, you're my driver now." And it's kind of an exploration of, him actually being friendly towards this kid and, showing him the ropes because it shows in flashback how he was kind of growing up in the ranks of the mob
Hmm.
and, being the driver of Sophia Falcone, who was one of the, elite members of the Falcone family, and then snitching on her because she talked to the press, which is a no-go, and doing that not because he wanted necessarily to take her job, but because if he didn't report it, they'd been on him. It'd come back on him. So yeah, I find that really fascinating, and I've talked before on how I really don't like shows like Breaking Bad. As in, like, they're good television. Don't get me wrong. I just hate by the end that I'm really sure we're supposed to sympathize with Walter White, and I cannot stand that man as someone who gave up on everything and
Yeah.
introduced problematic, drug culture into a city. It's like, nope, I'm done with you as a person. Oh, you lose at the end. Oh, thank God. Spoilers for Breaking Bad. But actually, what was released earlier today, and I forgot to put into my lightning round, is something Matthew and I would both like, and that being Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. I sped watched through all of that earlier today, and
Oh, is
it's
that out
from
today?
yes, it's from the Xeon side, and it shows who would typically be your villains in a Gundam narrative, and it kind of makes them the heroes, and actually kind of turns the Gundam in kind of like a Jason Voorhees, um, Michael Myers serial killer kind of role, slasher villain kind of
Oh,
role. It's very fun.
fascinating. Yeah.
Uh, the ending I have issues with, but I won't spoil it out for you right now, Matthew. Um, and that they go a little too far in making them try to seem heroic, and when you actually listen to what they're saying, you go, "That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life." But it's fun to see that perspective flip at times,
Huh?
because yes, I'm tired of the 1 year war. We'd be there over and over again. How many times? But this was
We've
done
seen
well enough
Africa
where,
now, which we haven't seen
yeah,
before, I guess, whatever, but
yeah, it did win me over by the end, other than the very last bits of the show. But that's its own
okay.
topic.
Okay.
So, but villain protagonists in that way, yeah, that's fun. In
You
fact,
can
there's
do
even
that. You
yeah,
can
go
do
ahead.
that with Gundam though anyway, because that's always kind of been like who are the real bad guys, you
Yeah,
know. So
it,
easier road for them to have a Xeon focused show without really ruining anything.
yeah, because Gundam really plays with that black and gray morality. There's very few times when, unless you're at the end of Seed, when there's a white morality, and we're really supposed to go be on those guys' side. It's like, no, the Federation has its flaws, New Zealand has its flaws, and every other Gundam series, a good Gundam series, will have something to that effect. But for Batman, I do remember there was a comic actually called Joker, where I think if I remember correctly, Batman doesn't show up until like the very end. And it's like showing the Joker going through his life, and then finally has a confrontation with Batman. He's just like yelling at him, like, "Why do you wear that mask? Why do you do all these things?" And Batman has like 3 lines, and he says, "To mock you." And that's all he ever says. And it just shows Joker's like
Oh.
further descent into madness as a result of that, and it's done really well. So, like, yeah, it's not showing the Joker's actually just a really poor person who's hurt, and he's part of the system. We're in a society. We live in a society. It's like, no, no, no. He's made his choices. He's an evil guy, and that's what I think the Penguin does really well too.
Good.
Now, obviously, you guys haven't watched the show, so I will try and summarize for a little bit the most recent episode, where we are from the POV of Sophia Falcone, who has been, I can't remember her actress's name. She has done a stellar job. Who we discover was falsely imprisoned in Arkham Asylum for being insane. Her dad essentially framed her for the murders he committed, and including the murder of her own mother. I don't think she got committed for that one, but it's kind of like setting up a precedent. That's why she did these things, because her mother's death was made to look like a suicide, but her father was actually the one who did it, and she found that out. That's why she was talking to that reporter who also dies. And so she is framed for those murders, sent to Arkham Asylum, and as a result, she is perfectly sane at the start. But as a result of going through these, electroshock therapies and being around genuinely insane people who drive her
Hmm.
mad,
Yeah.
her mental kind of mind slips a bit. So, like in the show, that's kind of how it's portraying like how someone could go down that path. But like, can we think of any other examples of mental health appearing in shows in various different ways and how they've done it?
If you remember the Billy arc in Stranger Things, where he was a big
Mm,
bully, but then you end up seeing his backstory a little bit, where his dad bullied him, and that's kind of how he became who he is. That was an interesting arc. If you remember that.
yeah, it was a good one because it's like, yeah, we understand Billy at the end. That doesn't make him a good guy. but no, it helps us understand his psychoses. Yeah. Go ahead, Matthew.
Nothing.
Nothing? That's fair. Uh, I'm thinking particularly for this show, I think this was done extremely well because it says or Sophia's like saying, "I am innocent. I haven't done these things," and yet no one listens to her because her dad has bribed the people. She was supposed to be out in 6 months for a trial, but because he doesn't want his crimes to go out, she's kept there. And every member of her family, except for her brother, send letters to like the judges in charge and say she's had this problem for mental illness for years and just completely lying about this whole thing. And it's not until the events of the Batman, where Falcone is taken care of, happen that she is actually able to be released at the start of the series. So it gets to a good point to where like she kills almost everyone in her family through like a gas incident in the house, like asphyxiating them as they sleep outside of like two people. One that she likes and the other that she's going to use more than likely is what it looks like. But you kind of just created your own villain there, and I think it was a really well done job. But you haven't seen it, so who knows? Maybe I'm lying. So as far as rating and reviewing goes, I'm going to give this sucker. I mean, if he keeps this up, right now it's a 9.5 out of 10. This could easily be a 10 if they keep going the way they're going.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But enough about something that only I've watched. Something that I know at least two of us have watched is the first episode of Dragon Ball Daima.
Ah.
Matthew, do you want to take us through a recap of what's happened in just one episode? We have learned
Okay.
so much.
Yeah. Recap of Dragon Ball Daima. So, essentially the first 5 minutes or so kind of just recaps our journey up to that point. So it is a recap of Dragon Ball through the end of Z, um through the eyes of what we find out are our new antagonists, kind of just watching the story unfolds. And then what happens, so we are introduced. Don't remember the little guy's name, but we are
Doma,
yeah,
I
something like
think.
that. So we are introduced to the new king of the demon realm, after Deborah's defeat by Boo, um, as well as two other Mako Shin characters. So, um, who appear to be the brother and sister of Supreme Kai.
That's
They're the same race, whatever that race is. Um, and so they watch all this. They see Boo, Bobbity, Deborah get defeated by Goku and the gang, and they are in shock that mortals could be so strong. What shall we do? They could overthrow the demon realm and take away my new power. Um, so we we find out, at least it's inferred, that the Namekians are from the demon realm, and there are a set of Dragon Balls there as well, guarded
in
by
a retcon of
these,
a retcon.
in a retcon of a retcon. But that's Toriyama, right? The man never took
Oh,
notes.
yes.
The man just flew by the seat of his pants, made it up as he
It,
went along. So,
you're either along
say
for the ride or you're not.
yeah, Saiyans had tails until they didn't. So, but yeah. So we find out that there's three Dragon Balls there, made by this super old Namekian guy, but they've never been used because they are guarded by these massive, just statue guardians. No one is strong enough to beat. They find out about Earth's Dragon Balls, so that is the plan. They enter our worlds. The old ancient Namekian guy is able to summon the Dragon Balls, reactivate them because they were turned to stone. They'd just been used. So this guy's got some crazy powers. Um,
Yes.
and then the wish is used to turn Goku and his friends to children so that they are not powerful enough to stop the new bad guys.
Yes.
Are we getting canon GT? Who knows?
I was going to ask you, do you think that this is an attempt to do GT, but actually good?
There are parts of GT that made sense. It was just not executed well.
I agree. I was just trying to
Yeah.
be a hater. Yeah, they are. I agree. There are parts of GT I'm like, yes, build up on that more, and they just go in a different direction. It's like, what? But why?
Yeah. No, because
I
the
thought that was a good idea.
yeah, no, Shadow Dragon arc, storytelling wise, love it. Makes tons of sense. The baby arc makes tons of sense.
Hmm.
They could have done. They definitely could have done it different with baby realizing he'd become a monster and do a whole moralization thing, but they didn't go there.
Yeah. Hey, if you guys want to check out a good breakdown of GT, Team Four Star, Lanny and Kaiser just did a watch through of all the 64 episodes in the
Uh-huh.
OVA, and it is fantastic to see their minds breaking down as time goes on. That's on their Four Star Bento channel, I think, on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how Matthew, you and I both know that there was this mystical series called Dragon Ball Super that had come out in the interim between the end of Z and Kai and GT. So how does this fit in that continuity? Is Super being retconned? Do we even know?
I don't really know. I mean, it seems to fit in between the defeat of Boo and Super, which
Mm.
Super technically fits in between the defeat of Boo and the last three episodes, End of Z.
Yeah,
There's a 10-year gap there. Super takes place whether it's the manga or the movie or the anime, either 6 months, 3 years, or 5 years into that 10-year gap, depending on your source material. So, um, but either way, so there's time in between for this stuff to happen. So what that means, we will not see god forms. We will not see any destroyers. Um, we most likely won't have any multiversal stuff going on. Although it was mentioned when
yes,
they were leaving the demon realm and they were asked which universe they wanted to go to. So they're keeping that consistent at least. But yep, no, seems to take place in the gap. Will it retcon Super? Who knows? What like only time will tell. There's 20 or 22 episodes, something like that. It's not very long. So it's just going to be a one story arc, one and done. Um, so we'll see.
yeah. I mean, there are some people saying, yeah, it has, retconned it because, we do see Kai and Kibito unfused. And I think that happens at the beginning of Super or something like that, or they mention it at that part. I don't remember. The case being, like we said earlier, we're dealing with, before he passes, one of the last things that Toriyama was working on. And that man was not known for keeping his continuity tight. He did
No.
as best as he could with a bad memory. But what happened to launch? Who knows? Not him. And then lots of other things, like things just started showing up because he thought they were cool, because he loved the designs of someone who was working with them or what have you.
Yeah.
So when you get in your Dragon Ball, you just kind of have to go, okay, I'm gonna just gonna have to accept what's on the screen.
Go along for the ride, and
Yeah.
love it or hate it. But so we'll see what happens as it plays out. It might end up being where everything Toriyama actually penned. So OGZ and then Daima are like a canon continuity, and then there's everything else. Um, don't really know. We'll have to find out and see how it ends.
Yep. We'll just have to see how Toriyama's wild ride goes. John, as someone who's not caught up to it, I'm fairly certain. Does this interest you at all? As someone who I know has
It
watched Dragon
does.
Ball.
As someone who watched through all of Z and has seen a little bit of Super, I am excited about it. I When I first saw the trailer for it, I thought they were gonna do like a Go version of Dragon Ball, and I was like not on board with that because You've seen like Teen Titans Go, and then the new like My Little Pony Go or whatever it's called. They chibify the characters, and then they're doing random stuff. But
Yeah, yeah,
hearing you talk about it, that's like or some altered version of that's going on here.
yeah. And instead of what GT at the very beginning, Pilaf after not appearing for so long, is suddenly remembered by the writers, and then just wishes out of hand. "Oh, I wish Goku was a kid again. He'd have been much easier to fight." Instead of that, we have everyone who fought against Boo in some way, shape, or form are now children. So I find that a little more interesting. I also have to say I don't like it. It's a weird feeling of I'm gonna have to see what they're gonna do with it before I actually say this is a terrible idea. Because my knee jerk reaction is to say, well, you're just copying GT, which that proved to not be a good idea in many respects. But they could easily prove me wrong,
Hmm.
and I am
Hmm.
well open to being proven wrong because I enjoy the things I enjoy. I want to enjoy them. I don't want to hate them.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to Dragon Ball Daima, Matthew, before we move on?
Um, no, I mean we'll just see. Like I've I've got theories and things already, but I need to see, a few more episodes play out to see y- to voice those.
Okay, before that's solidified, I got it.
Because they're shot in
Ready?
they're shot in the dark right now. So
Okay. So out of 10 so far, how do you rate it? Just the first episode.
I mean the first episode, I feel like it was very, and I don't mind something being like narrative heavy, but I feel like it was very narrative heavy. And there's some of what happened that could have been done through it just playing out rather than it being these just panels of explanation.
Yeah. There's a
So
lot of exposition.
lot of exposition. Um, the first episode. I mean, I can't score anything Dragon Ball bad. I mean, even the worst of GT, I score 5. So,
Ah,
um, I'm giving this a 7 so far.
okay. Well, I'm not far from you. I'm a 7.5. It's like, yeah, this
Yep.
is a promising start. Let's see where they go from here.
Yep.
All right. Next up on our docket, we have some upcoming Star Wars media. We've kind of talked a little bit about it, but we want to give another chance. The newest thing that will be coming out fairly soon will be Star Wars Skeleton Crew. John, you want to take it away on that one?
I am super excited because that's going to be like an Amblin Entertainment kind of an ET style movie where
Mm,
it's takes place in the quote unquote middle class of Star Wars, and it's just a couple kids who stumble upon some like ancient ruins and end up in an interstellar adventure, and it's just super exciting. I can't wait
nice.
for it. I am all here for it. I want to see a completely new take on Star Wars existing within the Star Wars universe, and the trailer was really promising, and it kind of actually was exactly what I was hoping for. It almost has like a like that like I said before, like the Goonies style in space, where it's like a group of kids.
Yeah.
It's not really a kid's story, but it's a group of kids together, and it makes it almost enchanting. It's really interesting. I can't wait.
Yeah. This one I'm looking forward to. Um, in a way, yeah, the first trailer was kind of weird in the aesthetics they chose for like the designs. It looked like 50s or 80s neighborhoods in certain respects in a Star Wars universe. But I was like, okay, I'll just move on from my life. But the idea of like, hey, these kids are forced on an intergalactic, well, not intergalactic, in a different part of space that no one ever been to before, and I love that idea as a concept. I mean, one of my favorite mech anime of all time is Galaxy Drifter Vifam. There's a lot of good stuff that comes from stuff like that, where kids are like your protagonists, and they may be pursued by someone, or maybe they're trying to find a way home. That's a cool idea. It sounds like more tamer version of your Lord of the Flies. And we've also got Jude Law here as someone that they have specified every single time he's brought up, he's not a Jedi or a Sith, he's a Force user. So that tells me he's probably maybe like a failed Padawan who escaped Order 66, or maybe someone who was in agricultural corps. If that's still in Disney canon, it was definitely in the old canon, the better one. So I am I am ready to see what they have to do with this because it sounds like fun. and I have been missing fun in my Star Wars for quite some time.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Matthew,
Oh, it looks
yeah,
super
anything you want to
exciting.
add?
I can't wait.
Yeah. No, that should be good. I mean, I'll give it a shot. I mean, anything will be better than the Acolyte. So
Yeah. Have you given your official review of that? John and I have.
Out of 10.
Yeah, yeah, out of 10. I want to hear.
You talking to you,
He's
Matt?
thinking. He's thinking.
me,
Yeah, yeah.
I still haven't seen either the last episode or the last two. So, but
Okay.
like
That-
conceptually, I was okay with it. But there was just a lot of execution that was awful. A lot of stuff that was thrown in just to be thrown in. You know, lesbian space witches and whatnot.
yes,
But
yes. The power
um,
of many.
yeah. So
Power
I,
of
I
Many.
just
Which, by
it
the way,
was just
Agatha, way better song.
Yeah, that it was cringy on the Acolyte. It really was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Eh,
Okay.
I'm like, I didn't even care about that aspect of it. It's just it completely changed what the Force is. That's where I was like, okay, like Star Wars is a thing, and this isn't that. So it was probably a 5 because I was into a couple characters.
Okay. Well, let us know how it goes when you finish it, whenever you decide to. Or you don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to watch
I
things you don't
probably
like,
I probably
unless
won't.
you're me. Me, I'm a glutton for punishment, and unless something personally offends me, of like there's like huge amounts of sexual assault or smut or something like that, that's like the only reason I'll drop something. Even things I despise to the very core of my being, I'll finish, and I gave that sucker a 2 out of 10. So,
Yeah.
next up, I believe after this, confirmed we have Andor season 2. Uh, I don't know if we have any specific news on what the plot is going to be. I forgot to look that up. John, do you have anything?
I believe they are basically bringing it up to the very beginning of Rogue One, is what I've heard. Is it's going to be
Ah,
kind of a fairly speedy season, is what I've heard. Where since it's
Okay.
bringing the season, since it's the last season, they're kind of bringing it up to speed to the very beginning of where Rogue One opens up, and which makes sense because where Rogue One ended, the A New Hope began. So
yeah,
they're kind of following that vein, and they're gonna be tying up a lot of ends as far as I can see, and also in how Diego Luna's character Andor ends up, in this
yeah.
crew.
Okay. Yeah.
I loved
Andor was
Rogue
one of
One.
those series. Oh yeah, yeah, great movie. Andor was one of those series. I was like, why would I care? And then the first couple episodes dropped, and I said, I was a fool to ever think that this was going to be a bad idea. This is one of the few things that have come from Disney Star Wars, and I'm like, yeah, this is going to beat some things from the past of Legends continuity to me. I love this show. I love Andor's growth as a character as he's like not joining the rebellion, but like doing subversive things, like having been forced to have been a prisoner at one point in time, and just trying to like watch out for his adopted mother who stole him from his planet, and all these crazy things. It's such a great story. So I'm looking forward to more Andor season 2. Matthew, did you watch season 1 at all?
I have not seen Andor.
Okay,
Oh,
that's fair.
I highly recommend it. Well, it's because it's slower. It builds plot. You actually care about the characters. It really,
Good.
the writing is spectacular with the
Hmm.
dialogue that actually would lives in your head rent free later on in life, where you're just like thinking about some of the lines that Skarsgård's character was saying, and you're just like, I love the speeches and the things. It's
Mm,
just chef's kiss on some of those things.
nice.
Yes.
Definitely check it out
Yeah,
then.
yeah, Skarsgård character, I loved what they did with him. But something that I was kind of ultimately positive on was Ahsoka season 1. And we know there's going to be an Ahsoka season 2 that has been confirmed. We don't have anything, I'm fairly certain, on the plot of what would happen, but we know for sure that they are stranded on the other side of where Thrawn had been for the past couple of years. There's some speculation actually that Skeleton Crew may cross over with that and be how they come back. But for right
Ooh.
now, John, Ahsoka season 2, what do you think?
I'm excited. I know they did a storyboard or like a sketch. Filoni did a sketch of like Ahsoka and Sabine looking out towards that pillar of light or the triangle from the father, the son, and the daughter statue. So we know that that is going to be a huge plot point. Is the and I've been waiting so long for live action to acknowledge the father, son, and daughter story arc. I mean, they had it
Yes.
with Rebels. That was a big point in Rebels, but with them finally doing it in Ahsoka, you're just like, all right, they're tying in live action all the stuff, and Anakin's ghost being there watching over her. It's just
Mhm.
it's connecting all the movies and stuff, and I really enjoyed that.
Yes. Yeah, one thing I am sad about is just one of these things gonna happen in life. Ray Stevenson, I believe, has passed since a guy who played Balin Skull, who was one of the standout performances of Ahsoka. So there's rumors he's being recasted, and would kind of have to, given that there's such a huge. He's part of the huge part of discovering that part about the father, son, daughter, and speculations are they going to bring Abeloth in from Legends canon into Ahsoka and the Disney canon. That's what drew him there, or something like that, or maybe explain how Thrawn was able to make the Death Troopers alongside the Night Sisters. Maybe, who knows? But I am looking forward to more. There's quibbles I have with Ahsoka. Sabine suddenly being a Jedi, even though like in Rebels she was kind of like, nope, you're not meant for it. Oh, but yes, you are because we say so. And Ahsoka was kind of wooden to me. I don't know if that's the directing or the acting or what have you. I would prefer her to emote a little better. But yeah, other than that, solid series. Hera was perfect. Like it's like she had jumped right from the cartoon into reality. Chopper, of course, our favorite little war criminal, is there
Chopper was
doing
the
his
best.
job. Like I am looking forward to season 2. If they use Skeleton Crew to bridge the gap, that makes perfect sense to me. I would really like to see, an Heir to the Empire series done well. If they do a movie, and I'd actually like to see them cast someone as Luke, who unfortunately has to live in a timeline where the Last Jedi exists, but that's not his fault. It's
Yeah.
Disney's fault. But yeah, Matthew, any thoughts on Ahsoka?
I haven't seen it. I've been very bad
That's
at watching
hey,
any of the Star Wars material.
that is a
Just
okay.
yeah,
Fair enough.
just yeah. I'm a huge fan of what was, and just really don't want to give recognition to what Disney's turned it into.
You know what? That is totally fair. There's only so much time in the world. Not everyone can be like me, no wife, no kids, only seminary work, which I can do as I watch stuff. So yeah, I get it. And sometimes watches stuff in class, but don't worry about that. And yeah,
Admission of guilt.
all right, last one. Oh, actually, for the TV side of things, John has one other
Mhm.
thing he wants to add. The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is still going to be a movie.
Mm.
I don't know. Do we actually have a plot synopsis of that bad boy?
There was a leaked trailer online that showed a couple of like various things. Um, it didn't really reveal too much of the plot, but you did see them going after some stormtroopers. So you know that um, Mando and Grogu are going to be, I guess, following up on the whatever that rebel pilot's name. Well, he's not a rebel.
Oh,
The New Republic.
Zeb?
Yeah, he was with Zeb from Rebels, and
Oh,
then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Oh, what is
they're
his name?
following up on that. The New Republic's that one officer's guy was like, "Hey, we need you to do some things that we can't do," you know. And I think that's kind of
Yes.
where the movie starts, is my guess.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. What is his name? Um, Carson Teva?
Carson, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Carson Teva. So yeah, that looks like it'll be a bunch of fun. Like, did Moff Gideon actually die at the end of the series? Could he
I
come
don't be
back in
dead.
a very?
Tired of
Could he
him
be
coming back.
our in a suit? Could he be our Vader? Like, I don't know if I really want that to happen, but it sounds like a cool visual. Do we have a new villain introduced? Does this tie into Thrawn coming back? I am very excited to see where this goes. I just hate that we're in this, as I mentioned several times before, this whatever TV passes for these days, even on streaming services, of here's an episode, or here's 10 episodes, and maybe you deserve more, but we're not going to do 20 to 26 like we used to do back in the day to actually, fully develop these things. And then you have to wait 2 to 3 years in between. So it comes out, I think, in 2026.
Yeah.
So
They don't feel
something
the
to look
pressure
forward to.
anymore of like the television schedules where they had to fit the 26 in a certain amount of time and actually get it done and have better writing. Now they're just like, all right, well, we can just do whatever we want.
Yeah, it is super annoying. I can't stand any of that. But one thing you did want to mention is a re-release of an older game. That being, of course, Jedi Power Battles, John. Talk about it.
I'm super excited. This is like my childhood nostalgia hitting me in the face because it was my favorite game on the PlayStation 1, which I never owned a PlayStation 1, I had a PS2, but still, we played the crap out of Star Wars Jedi Power Battles, and I could never make it past like the 4th level. Like I probably spent hundreds of hours playing that game, but it didn't matter how many times we died. It was like an arcade style side scrolling, sort of like a side scroller Star Wars game where you're just hack and slashing people, and it had a lot of fun things to do, a lot of characters to play, and me and my friends, just because it has a co-op mode, we just went through it and played it all the time. And it's finally getting a remaster. I really want it to have a remake with better
Yeah,
graphics and stuff, and they could do all the movies that way. But at least it's being brought to the 21st century in the modern machines, so I can play that game again. And they're gonna have new content, new characters to play, some new modes that were Dreamcast exclusive that are being added back into the PlayStation version. So
Oh,
it's
nice.
gonna be exciting.
yeah,
So they're doing like a definitive edition.
Basically,
Yeah, nice.
yeah. That was one of those games I was complete and utter garbage at. I don't remember how far I got. I think you might have done better than me. It's just
it
one of
was
those things
so
that gotta
hard.
happen back in the day. Like they were made hard. They were made like old arcade games where it's like, hey, you want to make money off of these things? Got to make things difficult so people die. So they put more quarters in, but they don't. You've already bought the game. Please help me here. Uh, so yeah, as a kid, there were just plenty of games I just couldn't beat, like the Super Star Wars games
Yeah.
that they released on the SNES. I was garbage at getting like maybe halfway through them. That there weren't enough lives. The only way I've ever even gotten close to them is now using the like Retron I used to have. And then, hey, here's some cheat codes to give you some more lives. That's the only way I made it past those games as an adult. As a kid, forget about it.
Oh, and Mace Windu gets his purple lightsaber for the first time. So
Yes. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Perfect. All right. Anything else you want
Nice.
to add for Star Wars?
nope. I'm just
All right.
looking forward to anything start. Like I'm hoping that they do really well. And I know Ewan McGregor was really pushing for a season 2 of Obi-Wan, which if they do make a season 2, they've got to improve on the quality of it, because I know
Drastically.
it wasn't as bad as Boba Fett, but it wasn't great.
Yes. He deserved better. Yeah. Okay. So I think that takes us to our next topic of discussion. Matthew, The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Now, Matthew, Zelda's that nice young man with the green cap and everything and the sword and the shield, right?
That's Link. Zelda is the princess.
In her first ever appearing as the main character of a game, if I remember correctly.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And it's been a blast so far. It's a super fun game. I was telling my wife, like, it's probably the most just pure enjoyment I have had out of a game in a long time. Like
Okay.
the chibi graphics are part of it, but also like they've kept the open world ish concept they've gone to with the newer games, but all of your dungeons are old school Zelda dungeons. There's a map, there's a boss key. You have to progress linearly through the level. Like if you don't have the right echo or the right item to get through this room, you have to go back and find what you missed. I love it. We are back to everything is in the room for a reason. You're looking for that one thing that's out of place. That might be the button that gets you into the next room. I'm just, I'm having a blast.
Yeah. Was it Skyward Sword that was the one that was remade in this style more
So it
recently?
it was Link's Awakening,
Link's Awakening. Okay. Yeah.
which was Game Boy game from the early '90s, where Link shipwrecked and he was on island and whatever, and he had to wake the windfish to escape, and then he wakes the windfish and finds it was all a dream.
Yeah, I do this is very charming art style to me. I've never been a Zelda guy, other than, like, Super Smash Brothers, learning Link was fun.
Yeah.
I've never been good at him. Zelda, I was a little better using her,
Mm,
but, yeah, that's mostly my exposure is either watching my cousin play,
fair enough.
saying it was what was the Majora's Mask? No, no, it was
Mm,
Ocarina of Time, that's what it was,
yep.
and playing some Super Smash Brothers. So, anything else from this game you wanna take away, like, what they do with
Uh,
her?
no, so I'm gonna finish the game before I throw out any theories as far as whether I think like it's in a timeline or what timeline it's in or what games it fits between or after or whatever. The map is very reminiscent of the SNES game Link to the Past.
Hmm,
It's not an exact one for one, but it's a very similar layout. So I'm sure it fits in there somewhere. But yeah, I need to beat the boss and get through the rest of the story before I really have any have any other theories. But
okay.
yeah, if there's anyone out there who was sleeping on this or not sure about it, play it. It's fantastic. Um,
Yeah,
it
you brought s go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you brought something up that I do know about the series is that there's multiple different timelines or, like, there's hundreds of years that could pass or thousands of years, and, like,
Mhm.
this maybe is it reincarnation of certain characters, or is it,
Kind
like
of. It's not exactly super fleshed out, but um, so there's the Triforce, right? Power, courage, wisdom. Link represents courage, Zelda representing wisdom, and then Ganon representing power.
Hmm,
And then throughout the history of Hyrule, they continue to, and I don't know if it is reincarnation or if it's more of like a spirit of kind of like in the same way that John the Baptist was Elijah,
ah,
kind of.
so taking on, like, the efforts of the past,
Right, like the
new
mantle and the
body, new
title.
person. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So
interesting.
so it's not really reincarnation. They're not like each link isn't supposed to be the same link like reincarnated. They're each their own person, but then
Hmm,
they embody the mantle of the hero. Same with
fascinating.
Zelda. Yeah, yeah. So the only one that is consistently the same person is Ganon. And then
Shout out
even that
to my number 2 main on Super Smash Brothers.
and then even then it's kind of like that depends what timeline you're in.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yep.
how would you rate what you played so far? How would you rate this, game?
Like so far, probably a 9 out of 10.
Okay?
Um, but there's a few game mechanics that bug me, little bugs, things like that, that keep it from being a 10 out of 10. But that's always part of the charm with Nintendo too, is doing what they can with a really 10-year-old hardware.
Mm.
because the Switch is a just a slightly upgraded Wii U, so the hardware is not very powerful, and there are
Oh, it's not.
limitations in that. So they do what they can with what they've got, but there's always weird little bugs. And
Yeah.
yep, so uh, it's a 9,
Okay.
9 out of 10.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. Well, as we head up into the wrap up, guys, which of these topics discussed today would be your top recommendation?
I'm kind of interested in the Penguin, the way that y'all were talking about how the villain protagonist and really dives into the meat and potatoes of who the Penguin is in a mafia sort
Mm,
of way. It sounds interesting.
mm.
Okay. Matthew?
I think I definitely am gonna watch Andor. It sounds like that is a good choice. Especially season 2, if it's leading up to Rogue One, which is one of my favorite movies, period.
Hmm.
Um, so that the tie-in there is enough for me to buy in to watch an Andor. Um, and then, my recommend of these, if you're a Dragon Ball fan at all, watch Daima. It's a conversation I've been having with some guys at work. There's a bunch of the guys at my work that just aren't gonna watch it, and I'm like, come on, guys.
It's always a shame. You're super excited about something, the people around you is like, nah.
They're knuckleheads. They just want more super.
I do too, but I'm liking what they're doing so far.
Yep.
My recommend for the things we discussed today, like I'm never gonna play the game, but it sounds like it's gonna be fun. Like Echoes of Wisdom, like from what you were describing, sounds very charming, sounds very fun. I mean, I'd love to see what they do with Zelda, like, on it sounds like she's more on her own. Like it's not Link's
Hmm.
not a factor at all, but it sounds like she's the one taking care of things.
Yeah, no, it's totally like basically inverted. Like she's saved at the beginning by Link, but then Link disappears. And
Okay.
so you are actually Link, so you're actually Zelda trying to find Link instead of Link trying to find Zelda. So
All
it,
right.
it,
A
it
nice
is
reversal.
a nice reversal in a good way, not in like a just we're gonna gender swap this because we can
Oh
kind of
yeah.
dumb way. It's very good.
Yeah, it actually serves the plot that it's a reversal.
Mhm.
It's not just like, hey guys, she's a woman and she can do what a man can.
She can't. You don't sword fight. You don't have any of Link's abilities. You have to use magic and create echoes of monsters to do your fighting for you. It's a very interesting game.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We appreciate everything you guys do. I want to shout out some sponsors of the show. Thank you, Ethan Overcash, Austin Nance, Amber Riley, and Jonathan Augustine. You guys are the best. But remember, we're all the chosen people, a geekdom of priests.